we are, week 6, sharpening the edge, ready to rock and roll. That's Lucas Reimink. I am Dennis Fithian. What a great time to be alive with the great sports weekend that's on tap for us. Lucas, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I went 5-1 in my picks last week, 9-3 these last 2 weeks overall. Brings me up to 17-12 on the season now, so I'm feeling really good. Excited to be back here picking some more. Hopefully we keep this going.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting for you, and I'm ready to join in as well. And for those that might be just watching or listening to us for the first time, we look and handicap Michigan, Michigan State, and the Lions. Plus, we each give you 3 locks of the week. I have to go back and check my overall record. I have been on a run myself, and that includes going perfect with my picks of the week a week ago. And over the last 3 weeks, I'm 8-1 in the picks of the weeks, and it's moved me up what I have to be 500. But if we've been picking the same amount of games, I've missed somewhere. So I feel like, maybe I'm on the good side. I have to check my bank account with that one or check the bottom line. Let's get things going. And we start out with the rematch of last year's national championship game that was played down in Houston. And the teams are the same, a lot of different players, new coaches. How do you see this one, Lucas? Michigan is getting a 1.5 in Seattle tomorrow night in Washington.
Yeah, so like you were mentioning there, kind of at first glance, top 10 Michigan being the underdog at Washington. An unranked team might seem kind of weird, but in the power rating world, Michigan actually is closer to like a top 20 type team, and Washington is kind of right on the edge of that top 25. So really not much separating themselves in the power rating aspect of things. And then you kind of factor in Washington, the home field advantage. A lot of people say that they have one of the better home field advantages in the sport. Kind of break it down to actual football. Will Rogers, quarterback there for Washington, has a lot of experience, been around the sport for quite a while. He's played a lot of good defenses in the past as well, formerly at Mississippi State. I think at home here for the Huskies, Michigan's younger, like more or less experienced team than what we've seen from the past couple seasons. The offense, the way it's currently constructed, I just think this is one of the games that they're going to lose, that they're going to drop, unfortunately. So if you think they're going to lose, you might as well take Washington to cover that 1.5. I have this projected at 23-20 in favor of Washington, so I'll take the Huskies there.
You know what? I understand why you would say that, and I know a lot of people, the number one story is the Michigan quarterback position. Alex Orji's 2-0, but he's thrown for 32 yards and 86 yards and a pick last week that turned the game. It almost felt like Michigan, because they did have to hang on to win. Washington's offense, 21st in total offense, but you kind of break it down. They've put up a lot of yardage, but the red zone offense 116th. So if 116, if Michigan is able to buck up in the red zone, and I think they will be able to do that, I think that Michigan can win this game. I think they can win this game by getting a lead and sitting on it and running to victory. People, I've noticed that people don't like going back to when these two teams played in the regular season a couple years ago in 2021, and Michigan pounded. It was ground and pound. It was a real surprise. It was 10-0 at the half. But people are comparing, well, Cade McNamara only threw for whatever, a low number in that game. What I remember about that game at the halftime, it was 10-0, and my friends were calling me saying, this is not sustainable. Michigan's going to have to throw the ball. And then Michigan just came out and they kept running and running. Now, this Washington team, it's a completely different team, and that wasn't a very good Washington team. But I think the recipe to victory is the same, and it's been the same for Michigan. Get a lead and then run to victory. So I'm taking Michigan by 3, 26-23. So we are on opposite sides of the big game tomorrow night. Let's go to a game that's going to be played tonight, Lucas, and that is Michigan State. They're in action. They're going out to Eugene to take on Oregon, and that is a 23.5 point spread for Oregon. How do you see it?
Yeah, so just kind of looking at the schedule dynamics at play here for Michigan State. If you remember, they played Ohio State last week, really good team, obviously, and now they travel across the country on short rest on a Friday night game here to take on Oregon. So pretty much just for that reason alone, I will take the Ducks to cover that 23.5 there. Just really, really tough schedule situation here at play for the Spartans. And then on a neutral field, it's like projected roughly about 19.5 to 20. So then you factor in the home field advantage for Oregon, you bump it up to like 22, 23, and then kind of factor in that schedule factor, like I mentioned there for the Spartans. I think the Ducks cruise to this one, and I got it at 38 to 13.
I think they cruise too, but I like a backdoor cover here. And I like that Aiden Childs, he's a West Coast kid. He went to Oregon State. And, you look, Oregon, the thing that jumps out to me is they only beat UCLA by 21 points. I think Childs can run around and get some scores and get a backdoor cover in this one. That's why I'm going to take Michigan State plus the 23.5 as we continue to be on opposite sides of the first two picks. There's no Lions this week as they did win last week. They are now 3-1. They're on a bye. They will take on the Cowboys next week. But hey, Detroit sports there. What do you think? You got Tigers at Guardians. They start things out. The National League Divisional Series tomorrow. It's a 1:08 first pitch down there in Cleveland. If you're so inclined, you can get pretty much even money if you want to bet the Tigers to win this one. Anything interesting in you? It's a curveball. I didn't tell you we were going to talk about the Tigers at all. And I don't even know if you follow baseball, but any interest at all in any action in Major League Baseball, specifically with the Detroit Tigers?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate the Tigers on the money line in this one just because Tanner Bybee, probable pitcher for the Guardians, he's kind of like hot and cold. He's like some games he'll show up. It's only his second season in the pros. Some games he'll show up and he'll go 6 innings with 6 Ks, no earned, and the other time he'll go 4 innings with 4 walks and 4 earned. Like he's kind of just a hot or cold kind of pitcher. So I kind of like that value there for the Tigers to get the win here. In general, though, I think the Guardians will probably win out just because the Tigers' starting pitching is not as good as you want it to be going into a playoff series. I think the longer the series goes, the better it is for the Guardians. So I kind of like the Tigers, like the value in terms of the money line there in this game. But long term, unfortunately, I would pick the Guardians.
Yeah, well, when the two teams played 13 times this year, it was before the Tigers caught fire on August 11th, so you can't take a whole lot out of it. And anybody trying to handicap this was saying, the Tigers go with their pitching chaos, or they got openers, and then they're rotating in with a bullpen. I don't know. That's it's going to be exciting, and to have the Tigers in there, it's nothing like usually. Historically, when the Indians or Guardians are good, the Tigers are bad, and vice versa. Now here they are for the first time meeting in the postseason, so it's going to be a wild. It's almost like anybody's guess is as good as ours. But I like Skubal, pitching those 2 games, game 2 and a possible coming back in a game 5, and then you just see Tigers need to pick up one of the other ones. So I'm picking the Tigers to win, but I do feel like that's a little bit of a homer call because it really does look like a toss-up. All right, let's get to our 3 locks of the week, and we have both been on a tear here, and I will let you go with your first pick.
Sure. My first one, I'm going to take South Carolina plus 9.5, catching 9.5 at home against Ole Miss. Preseason, I was a tad lower on the Rebels relative to kind of the rest of the country. Just don't have a lot of confidence in their run game. I have questions kind of about Jackson Dart. I think he's good, but I don't think he's like a Heisman caliber quarterback who's capable of carrying an elite offense on his shoulders, even with the really good Lane Kiffin scheming stuff up for him. Look at their game last week. Kentucky kind of whipped Ole Miss in the line of scrimmage. It's definitely concerning if you're a Rebels fan or just have stock in the Rebels being good this year. Kentucky obviously got the upset win. Kind of looking at the South Carolina team, it has a lot of the same characteristics as Kentucky. It's got a good D-line, solid run game. Quarterback's going to be Sounds like they're going to go back to Lenore Sellers in this game, who's been hurt. He's a redshirt freshman. He's been hurt a little bit. Sounds like he's going to be healthy and back starting for them this game. And then coming off the bye week, I just kind of like that dynamic, getting their quarterback back coming off the bye week. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step forward here on offense as they cover. And I got them losing the game, but I do think they're going to cover for me. Have it at 28-20, and that's good enough for me to get the cover, so I'll take that.
All right, my first game, I first want to tell a story about this past Saturday. You picked Alabama over Georgia, and it got to be Saturday night, and I went completely away from what I would tell people about being disciplined and make sure that you're just betting in certain whatever, how much ever you're going to play, kind of, stick to that. Don't ride the emotions. I actually threw all that out the window, which also included don't make any big bets and go against what you think if you've had a few beers. That should be like on page number 1, but none of it mattered. I started feeling good. I'm like, Lucas is I'm picking Alabama, and I pressed the money line, and I bet like 4 times the amount that I normally do. And I said, screw it. I'm just having a great time and watching it. And then they get out. It was like 24-0, and I'm cashing. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I'm telling myself, I don't know why I don't bet more and more. I'm getting good at this. I'm hot. I'm way up. And then it all comes crashing down, and Georgia takes the lead. And I said, this is the reason you just don't do it. I'm over there for it was only about a minute because they came right back, as you know, but for a minute I'm saying, this is why all of this is why gamblers, this is why they have all the big buildings in Vegas and everything else. And they throw the 76-yard touchdown, and then I'm back. What a roller coaster that is. When you go through that game in particular, I couldn't imagine even me betting 4 times the amount. It was pretty wild. I couldn't imagine if I had real money on it and was watching that thing. I don't know if I could have handled it. I don't know if I could have made it through the entire game. Having said that, I'm going with Alabama. Just reminded me, I'm going against, though, of the Tide. Vandy is at home. And, I think Vandy, as soon as you see Vandy, you see Bama last week and number 1 and all that, you think this is going to be a huge blowout. But Vandy hung with Missouri. They beat Va-Tech earlier in the year. I think they can hang around. The Alabama's coming off their big win. They're looking ahead and everything else. So I like Vandy plus 23 versus Alabama with my lock number 1. Let's go right back to you for lock number 2.
Yeah, so I tailed the Buckeyes going against the Spartans last week. To do it again here, I'm going to take Ohio State minus 18.5 at home against Iowa. Ohio State, obviously, they're at home. Iowa's offense is quite one-dimensional. Cade McNamara there, the quarterback, has really struggled. They've kind of gone back and forth on if he should even start for them going forward. Caleb Johnson, though, has been really good, but I think a one-dimensional offense going against Ohio State defense that I think is one of the best in the country at home in their own stadium. I think it's going to be more of a big spread kind of game. I certainly get why it's 18.5, but I think starting slow against the Iowa defense is probably something that's going to happen. So don't freak out, if you're tailing me on this one and it's 17-14 at halftime or something, But I think Ohio State's athletes, along with the one-dimensional aspect of Iowa's offense, I think Ohio State's going to end up covering and cruising in the second half here to get out at least a 20-point win. So I'll take Ohio State to cover that 18.5 there.
You'll take the Buckeyes. I, for my pick number 2, am also going to stay in the Big Ten. And I've got 2 parts of the Indiana Northwestern game that I like. I like the over 41.5. That'll be my official pick here for best bet number 2. But I also like the Hoosiers minus 14. Maybe it'll be a same game parlay. Maybe I'll just bet them separate. I haven't quite figured that part out yet. But for the official part, Indiana, their offense, I don't know. Vegas, I know that they look at the numbers and everything else, but I feel like Indiana's going to score 45 points by themselves in this game right here. Of course, they do that. I don't think Northwestern's scoring over 20. So I like both of these parts, but certainly I like Indiana over 41.5, and maybe Northwestern will help them out with a touchdown or 2. So give me over 41.5, Indiana Northwestern.
For my third one, I will take Tennessee 13.5 against Arkansas. Pretty simple here. I really just think Tennessee is like a borderline elite team. I've been power rated as the fourth best team in the country, and then it looks like we're in agreement here. But Arkansas on the other side is quite bad from a football, more of an offensive standpoint. Tennessee is really balanced on offense. They got a great running game that's currently number one in the country nationally in rushing offense per game. And then Nico Ayamaleva throwing the ball. He's really good. He's got a really good arm. He's got some receivers out there that can get open and get the ball, catch the ball. I think their defense is, still some question marks there on the defense, at least in my opinion, mostly in the secondary. But at least so far, they've played really well. Playing like a top 10 defense. They haven't faced a truly elite offense or anything yet. They get Bama in a couple weeks here, I think. But at least so far, their defenses look the part as well. I think this game's going to get ugly. I got Tennessee winning 38-17. So I'll take all of that 13.5 there.
Great job on Nico Iamaleava. We should all know his name. He is an awesome player. And obviously, I agree with you. I've got my third pick of the game or third best bet of the week on the board. I like Tennessee as well for all the reasons that you talked about. I like to emphasize for people that have not watched Tennessee, yeah, they're good. And their quarterback, you watch them play and you think, oh, yeah, but their defense is pretty good too. And they're coming off a bye. No, Arkansas has played. They played Texas A&M close. They played Auburn close. But, this is a different deal. You said they're an elite team, the Vols. I agree with you on that. And that's why I am taking Tennessee as well. There's Lucas's lock, South Carolina plus 9.5 over Ole Miss. He'll lay the points and take the Buckeyes over the Hawkeyes, 18.5, and Tennessee minus 13.5 against Arkansas. And I am in agreement on the Tennessee pick. I like Indiana Northwestern over 41.5, and I like Vandy plus 23 against Alabama. Those are the picks. I'm going to take a screenshot, put that up on our website because it's all right there for us. Lucas, enjoy the weekend and best of luck.
Yeah, let's keep this hot streak going. We've both been hot, so let's see how long we can let this ride out.
Let's do it. All right, take care and enjoy the games this weekend.
Absolutely.
There he is. Smash the like button.